good afternoon. How are you? I am Dr. Wolf, here for the 20... Oh, was that the 20th Century Fox version? This is 21st Century Learning. Let's see if I can find a different beat. Alright, again it's Dr. Wolf here for 21st Century Learning. We're here at the Zoo Skill, and right now it's just a solo mission right now as we're integrating the different technology. So it's almost like a selfie. Excuse me, I had a woofy fur in my throat there. A selfie final critical analysis for the 21st Century Learning. So today we're going to break down some different things with some outcomes of some legal, social, and ethical issues, as well as we're going to be talking about the integration of technology within the curriculum with myself as a teacher, as well as with the students, as long as we're talking about outcomes as well. Also, we're going to be talking about the professional growth. So we're going to have some professional growth targets towards it. So those will be the bulk of the agenda today as we move forward in our discussion. So the first thing is that there's multiple different examples of unethical and illegal behavioral type things in the technology environment. Now, some big things might be just like this Synamo from chapter 10 in his text, their textbook. They mention some various copyright issues and how to go about that as a teacher and how you protect yourself and check yourself before you wreck yourself, sort of thing. And so with that, be very conscious of the very different copyrights and what you can do, what you can't do, and stuff like that. But so we have some acceptable use policies as well that also kind of have your back and things we should be conscious of when we are teaching our classrooms or setting up things towards technology. Sorry about that. Just like we're just going to be in the discussions of pros and cons, is one of the cons of technologies is interruptions. So for example, I just had an interruption on my video recording device. And so that would also potentially happen as a teacher in the classroom. So you must be aware of that potential is a con of distractions. Is one of the biggest cons. Is even with your students using technology, they may be distracted to go play Angry Birds, woo, or different video games or other perhaps social networking websites and stuff like that. So those are big cons towards it as well. So, you know, in the umbrella of advantages and disadvantages, the pros is that the students as well as yourself will have a greater literacy with the technology. So you'll be able to log on, boop, 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 and figure and navigate through and troubleshoot and be able to understand how the technology kind of works for your benefit through trial and error and critical thinking. So you develop those skills with critical thinking as well as problem solving. So those are the types of things that your students will also go through as well as yourself by working through the technology. It's an alternative learning tool. So students can use it just like I'm doing right now. I'm using my phone to videotape me on my learning successes, because instead of perhaps writing a paper and cranking out your work that way. Some may find it challenging or difficult, but it's another way of learning different ways of how to learn. And we'll get into different accommodations and stuff in the middle section of the video. So we have apps. So There's tons of million gajillion apps that you can use to your benefit, whether it's multiplication or division. So all these different subjects, there's tons of apps. Whether it's even for physical education, there's exercise apps like 7-minute workouts. So you 1 minute sit-ups, push-ups, 1 minute rest. All these different circuit type things, which could perceive as valuable in the phys ed environment as well. And then we also have the ebooks. So ebooks are great because they save on paper. So we can go in the woods, and there will be a woods compared to if there isn't any woods. So you have that option, as well as there's with that options. A lot of times the ebooks have quizzes or flashcards. I love flashcards because that's how good preparation for tests and stuff like that. As well as diagrams, all these extra resources you can use that usually come with the ebooks. A big thing is a communication tool between parents and the community as well as the students. So there's, whether it's snow days or whatever's going on, as long as we've got power, that's another con or disadvantage is if you don't got power, you can't really use your technology. But again, with the communication, using it as a good tool, we can see marks, we can see the assessment, we can see plans for the future. There's fundraisers, schedules, all these different things can all be wrapped up into that little cute little package of 21st century learning. As well as we got a content viewer, So again, you can review your content. Like if it's on the Moodle, you can just log on to Moodle, boop, 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 and you can read through things, whether it's news articles and stuff like that. So we have that. We have the exploration. So the students get to try and explore through different avenues all over the internet, whether it's scholarly articles or databases or different research and then things of that nature. As well as we have, I've seen some examples of virtual field trips, where so you go through like a kind of if you want to go visit Lewisburg, for example, you might be able to take a pathway through Lewisburg. So you may not be able to pay to go to Europe or pay to go to New York, and you can take the virtual tour or something with your class, which would be super exciting, And then you can also keep track of your teacher records, your plans, your lesson plans. You can forward them off to other people and share in the whole network of things, which kind of leads us to our third part of the video, which we'll get to momentarily. So those are pretty much most of the advantages or pros of it. Some cons are sometimes these things cost a lot of money. So if I were to drop my phone, it would be pretty hefty to replace, or even to give a whole class a bunch of them or supply them. So that's very cost effective. As well as when it comes to cost effective, sometimes the equipment, excuse me, does become outdated and needs updating. So that's something we need to look forward to, as well as the reliability. So if power goes out or the batteries are running weird and funky, then all these different things can go wrong, or something freezes or the system crashes or these random different things that may happen when you try to use your technology. So that's why, again, when we get to the third part, you got to practice as a teacher, work with things and keep, testing things out and playing around, And so, as well as it's hard to plan for that, as well as, again, with the potential distraction, with the device in their hands, they have this whole open source. So with that being said, we have to be proactive in exposing our students to this content and letting down the expectations and having these different waivers and the data security and explaining the whole academic integrity and have these infrastructures in place that they don't end up compromising what they have. So you got to list expectations. We got to have blocking and restricted access to the technology, or whatever device they're using. And we also got to monitor it. So, we got to do all these things to be proactive and inform them. But again, if we have to be reactive, there has to be some sort of reactive, like punishment if someone does something wrong, or some protocol in place that other people will not repeat the similar action. So that is, as well as a couple other cons are tech support. So you'll have to rely on a lot of tech support to be able to come in and fix these or keep them maintained, as well as the training, the professional development. All these things cost coin and time. So time is coin, coin is time, and that whole continuum of those things. So that is the first kind of legal and social and ethical part of the issues. All right, so we're on to section 2 of the integration of technology into the curriculum. Okay, so again, when we are using technology in the essence of materials and media in terms of appropriate instructional use, we as teachers, we should be, there's some fun that can be had, but again, we must be using the technology properly. So that means there should be some sort of reason behind it. So if your principal walks in or somebody walks in, they can go, hey, what's going on here? What's the Scooby-Doo here? So that's why if you can have, the usage should be outcome related. And so you're not just playing around just for the poop and giggles of it. You're being educative, you're embraced into it, and you're engaged into it and creating those learning moments for your students so they can enhance their learning and become better students for tomorrow. Because they're not just playing around with Angry Birds or just making characters. They got to develop the content, the outcomes that are behind it. So to do that, like Sawyer says, you must do simpler tasks and procedures that should be simpler. They should be done first. So, grow your children from the bottom to build them up to give them the tools to be able to do more things. So understand, break it down for them, and basic to make it easy peasy so they can learn more. Simino also, he suggests in chapter 7, or they suggest in chapter 7, that there's things like project-based learning and stuff like this, which is a huge thing across the country towards people starting to gear towards project-based learning and getting in groups and making things kind of cross-curricular and make these projects flourish the learning, because they learn well in these little groups and they can share and plant some seeds over here from this subject and maybe add it over to other subjects as well. So you must be also, it allows you, they also state in chapter 7 that you will be evaluating the outcomes and the student. So it allows with technology, you're able to integrate the outcomes on your database and be able to evaluate those, so you can use your outcomes and make sure that your technology is using those outcomes. So also what Friesen and Jardin say, there was like a list of quotes, and one of them that stuck out to me was, we want to do work relevant, meaningful, and authentic. And that's the key selection in there is the word that I was like, whoa, I'm gonna put that in my word bank in my noggin, is authentic. So the work we must do is authentic. It's rich. It's fostering among the students into their learning, which is the most important / beneficial part of using the 21st century. So example is that it allows the students to use technology to reach the outcomes. So for example, when I was teaching back in the day, we had they could use for example, if they want to do a dance routine, they would have to use either their own technology and videotape it, or they had to do a commercial or something, and they could incorporate the dance. So then the outcomes were in it because they have to present it in front of the class or perform with a partner and such of this, as well as the technology could be used for gymnastics, for learning, teaching cues, and teaching each other, which is a big part of the leadership part of the physical education realm. So with the technology, like whether it's an iPad or computers, they can use things like YouTube or proper monitored situations where they can learn these types of things, not only just from you as the teacher, but kind of preload it with these other videos so they can see how it kind of looks as well for students their age. So those are some examples. Also, with the with tablets, the big part is that with assistive and adaptive technology, we can make huge accommodations to facilitate success and educational experiences for students with special needs or learning differences. Because with tablets, you can develop ways to be able to read all the content. So you need to learn how to set that up as a teacher. Those are ways also for viewing or writing or listening. All these differentiated work will allow all the students to be inclusive and be able to learn at a great rate, as well as all the other students, because we all have different ways of learning and we are all different learners. So this just helps us all be tooled into getting to the finish line. Help get us to all the finish line. So sometimes that might even mean differentiated work. So I can be like, boop, I could be there on my little iPad, scroll a little through things, and maybe I have a different test than you, or different quizzes, or different setups, and not even help with your IPP, because then no one will even really know, because you're just on. It's not like my test is thicker or smaller than yours, because we both have a screen, and I just kind of scroll through, and maybe there's some other little challenges or videos to keep education things, to keep people entertained while I'm still writing on perhaps a different type of a quiz or exam or some form of assessment. So that's where this whole 21st century learning also becomes a huge part with the creating success for everybody, and everybody in the zoo is a big part. So again, it was about making connections between lesson planning, student learning, and technology integration. So a big part of your lesson plans is to try some things out, experiment, but again, make sure it's curriculum based. So that's the big part. So another huge quote that I like by Friesen and Jardin is teachers need to be coherent and supportive of programs of study that will not only allow but also encourage them to understand their work differently than the factory, the factory type model in their job. And in the 21st century, it is to introduce students into living fields of knowledge and the way of living in that living properly in that field. And it is to be for the students an example of what it means to be interested in and the ways of that place to support them as they learn and find their way around it. So that's why we got to find all these different tools from the toolbox, so when they go into the world, they can do that critical thinking, they can do that problem solving, they can rely on their body, they can rely on their partners, they can rely on their teachers, their superior employees or their managers or people throughout to make the whole thing go around and make it a smooth riding bicycle. So you can use so that's a big part, and you can use things like QR codes or Twitter type feeds to, if you want to ask a question, to pose a question in class rather than raise a hand and like, hey Mr. Wolf, I know the answer. Everybody get the answer, then everybody can kind of like type in their answer, and kind of you can go through the whole feed and kind of point out some things and see some good ideas and leave it anonymously. You guys just get similar to program as Top Hat, or like a cool program what group did was called Plickers. So you can scan the little QR codes and see how your class is doing and assess them on their progress, which is really, really cool. And so also with the Mimio board, we learned tons of cool things about that. And then we'll get into section 3 more about the Mimio and those different types of technologies, as well as the smart board and stuff like that. So that's kind of how the integration of technology in the curriculum kind of works. So again, it's got to be curriculum based, maybe cross-curricular with those project-based learning type ideas like Cinema was, and then we're saying from the readings, and we should be all hunky-dory, moving on the right direction, and so we should be, we'll see you for part 3. And so we move into the final section of professional growth. So this is a huge target for all us teachers as we grow in the world of teaching, because it's forever, ever changing and evolving and growing and blossoming. The tree just keeps popping new, and then, you know, the educational tree, sometimes you plant seeds and it grows and it boop, and then also the leaves come off again, and then it boop, pops up again. And that's kind of how, you know, I kind of see things going. So, you know, us as teachers, we must, you know, use our resources wisely. And when I mean resources wisely, that's I feel one of my strengths is, you know, trying to use your resources wisely. So if you have colleagues that are really smart in technology, you know, just lend them a hand, come up beside them and be like, hey, yo, you're really good at this. You mind teaching me some stuff? Oh, yeah, wouldn't mind that. That'd be great. So it's all about working together and collaborating with other colleagues and teachers, whether it's in the school district, the school board, the province, or even your school, or if you know some good techies people, how to use certain things or different ideas for the 21st century learning, then use them, you know, because at the end of the day, we got to be student-centered teachers. It's not always about us. We got to be towards the students, and that's partially the reasons why we became teachers, because we love students and children in the community and being involved. So why not work together? And also this requires you to have some self-exploration. You know, you gotta play around with some things, test some things out. And I know it will take time at the start, but once you're gonna get through the problem solving, critical thinking, then the stuff should just keep coming and be more natural. And you could save yourself a boatload of time. So if, you know, you get some quizzes, you could save lots of marking time or evaluating time, because it all goes on the database, which makes it easier for them to potentially see. And this is a big part of it, was being, you know, a big resource. So later on in the section we'll talk about resources, but we might as well just kind of hop to it now, sort of, is like things like Moodle or those type of databases that you can use or Power School, and that can store all that information for you and you can make rubrics and have the things on display for gradings and assessments and all those types of things, so you can see progress, which again relates back to being a professional and being able to communicate with all the different types of people, whether it's administration, the parents, the community, or even even the students. So some other resources would be like the cloud, different drives, Twitter. Twitter is huge, and that's something that I've challenged myself to try and get into more, because I knew some school districts are looking forward to that. And I even just instantly picked up resources, instantly, some of my fresh ideas or some cool and unique ideas that don't really cost much money. Like one example is it's kind of cool. It's like a t-shirt, and you kind of can do the human body and then put sticky notes on what body parts you think are where. So that's a really neat idea. And then, you know, the world's endless with that. Maybe they can wear those into the test and kind of look and think, hey, look, what's this right here? Oh, that's my paw. And this is my other paw. And oh, that's where my heart is. And this is where my humerus is. And my radius and my ulnar. And they can kind of think ways of thinking through it. So that kind of allows them, through the 21st century learning, allows them to kind of learn those things. Or maybe you can get like some sort of operation game on the old iPad, and then, types of, experimental learning through it. But again, it must be you as a teacher. I think one of my strengths is to, just trial and error, working things out. So making these videos, I thought it was going to be kind of simple to do, but then you got to do this and that, the other thing, and sometimes this file doesn't work in that file, so you got to, troubleshoot through things, and so you got to upload it to Facebook to yourself, and you got to save it as a link, and then you got to do the link but upload it to YouTube, and then you got to put all the different videos together on the video editing thing. So all those things take time and troubleshooting, which, and that's why you got to do it yourself first and practice through it before you get your students to do it. And, and then things will become more smoother and we'll go on. So that's why we have here the big hashtag Zoo School, because, we're being up and under the times. So we got to be with the hashtag so everybody can be inclusive and be a part of the Zoo School. So again, we got Power School, we got rubric making and stuff like that. And just like our wonderful Professor Wendy says all the time things. So we have our sandbox there, and it's there to, pretty much our Moodle sandbox, and it's like a sandbox, almost like Moodle itself in Power School. It's there to use how you want to make it. So if you want to build something out of your sand, you can build it. So if it's a rubric, quiz, articles, resources, posting all up, discussion boards, all these things are endless, which can be very useful for us, for teachers, for communicating with each other, again, and the teachers. So with the personal kind of, my personal kind of pedagogical kind of walking of my teaching is I got to start, trying to integrate these and experiment and test them, but again, being focused on the outcomes, as well as using resources wisely and people wisely, and try to, be up with the time, stay updated, stay fresh, especially like right now I'm young, but then when I get older, to be an older wolfie, you got to still be able to keep up with the pack. Otherwise, there won't be a pack. And, as sad as it is, this survival for you as a teacher or as a wolf in that pack is more challenging as a lone wolf. It's a lot harder as a lone wolf compared to the wolf pack, because you can flourish together and then they can grow, you get stronger, and that's why as professional educators, we all gotta come together, because, and even in the schools, maybe a zoo sometimes, but we still all gotta come together. It may be chaotic and things might be going on, but that's why we gotta communicate to each other and figure out expectations and try to go along with the curriculum guide as well as the hidden curriculum and prepare these students and ourselves for, the best we can to be able to critical think and problem solve through the future. So that's me, Dr. Wolf, for hashtag Zoo School. And thank you very much for y'all help. And I'm definitely going to be taking a lot of this stuff from this course with me in my little backpack of toolkit of teaching and understanding towards a 21st century learning, whether it's been, the exposure of the Mimeo or the things with the Plickers, the tablets, the Twitter feeds, QR codes, or using the smartboard. I'm just going to have to get down and dirty, get my paws all wet or snowy or whatever needs to be done, and be able to immerse myself. So there's anything this course really has taught me is be able to critical think through things and navigate through and troubleshoot and trial and error and accept the challenges and be able to work with the students, and as well as be an ongoing working with them as well. We're together, be the facilitator and assist, and be that encourager and that motivator. And at the end of the day, then we'll have a successful zoo and everybody will be happy. So again, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed, and much love. Thank you very much. Dr. Wolf's out.